is called quadratics. That is something you probably have not heard before. A quadratic is like, it's a type of graph, type of equation, specifically that has an x squared in it. So anytime that you have an equation with an x squared, it's a quadratic, and it's going to have this kind of shape when you graph it. That shape, or that graph, that U shape, not parabola. And we're going to get into the parts of a parabola today. Number one, the vertex. The vertex is the highest or lowest point on a parabola. It's basically like in the U shape. I want you to circle where you think the vertex is. Right here is the vertex.
Definitely not pointing it out.
I really wasn't trying to. I just really liked pointing at the whole thing. Yep, that is the vertex. And the vertex is 1, -4. Now, if my is it at the top or at the bottom? It's at the bottom. That's a minimum. So it's kind of opposite of what you think. You think, okay, well, it opens up, but I have a minimum. The vertex is the minimum point. That's the lowest point on the graph. And on this problem, we have a minimum. Always just use the y coordinate, because that's the lowest. High and low are y values. So the lowest value vertex. So this has a minimum at -4. Now, if the parabola is upside down and it opens down, then the y coordinate of the vertex is a so if it's down, then it's a hilltop. You have the vertex at the top, so it's a maximum. Okay. So that's part. The other one is called the axis of symmetry. If you fold a parabola, both sides would overlap each other. Every single time. It's always symmetric. And so think about if I were to cut this paper out and give everybody a copy. And I say, okay, I want you to fold the parabola so that draw a line where you would make that fold. Your line that it's not necessarily the y-axis. It's where it's like right down the middle. It's a vertical line, and that's what we call the axis of symmetry. So it is a line that divides a parabola into two always passes through the vertex. When I ask you for the axis of a long time ago, you learned about vertical lines. Vertical line, x equals number. So in this case, we're going to look basically where this line crosses the x-axis, which is what? 1. So x equals 1 is the equation. If you just put 1, you've not really specified that it's a line. X equals 1 is an equation of a line. This number will always be the x value of if you don't put the x equals, it's not technically correct.
Would you count that wrong?
I probably would count off. I normally do. If you just say 1, then it's like a point on 1. A line is x equals 1. The line y equals 1 is a horizontal line that crosses through the y-axis at 1. X-intercepts. And x-intercept is where the parabola crosses the x-axis. What did you say? Okay. So here's the x-axis. It crosses here, and it crosses there. Those are x-intercepts. How many x-intercepts does this parabola have? It has 2. It is also possible for a parabola to have 0, 1, or 2 x-intercepts. So we have an example of 2. How could I make that parabola have 1 x-intercept without tilting it in any way? It'll either be pointing down or up, not sideways.
The vertex is on X.
Yes. If the vertex is on the x-axis, that is your 1 x-intercept. What about 0 x-intercepts? What could I do?
Above or below.
Yeah, it's kind of above or below. Like if I shifted this one up there. Yeah. Now, x-intercepts have a lot of names. Like there's like 4 different names that all mean the same thing. Do any of you have 2 middle names? So you have 4 names? Yeah, so you got 4 names. Okay, that's like x-intercepts. X-intercepts is one of them. Another name would be roots. If I say find the roots, I mean find the x-intercepts. Zeros. If I say find the zeros, I mean find the x-intercept. Or solutions. I don't know. But I promise you will have to remember those. You will probably see questions where I say, name the synonyms for x-intercepts, or I give you a list of words and you say, and I say, which one doesn't belong? And it would be those 3 plus something else. You got to know that. I will try to, as we get on in the unit, I will mix up the words that I use. So sometimes I'll say roots, solutions, sometimes I'll say zeros. All right, the next part of a parabola is the y-intercept. That is where it crosses the y-axis. A parabola will always have 1 y-intercept. You can only have 1.
Is there like 8 names for this thing?
No, then there's no other names. However, you may not necessarily see the y-intercept on the graph. So it's going to cross eventually because these lines go up forever. Right here, this one's obvious. I can see this one. Okay. But like if I give you this right here, that looks like it doesn't cross the y-axis. But this line is tilted slightly. So eventually, maybe way up there, it would eventually cross the y-axis. So you can't say that a parabola has no y-axis. Okay.
If we were like labeling it, if it just like went on to like the eventually.
You could say unknown or something. If I ask you for the y-intercept. Now, if I give you the equation later on, you'll be able to get the y-intercept from that. But just a graph, if you can't see it, just put unknown. Now, the other thing is some vocabulary that you really got to know for pre-cal. So I added it this year so you'd be introduced to it. Concavity. We're just using this word concave. When a graph opens up, okay, it looks like a cup. Up like a cup. We use the terminology concave up. So we're not just going to say it opens up. We will say it is concave up. When it opens down, we call it concave down. And you can abbreviate that. I will normally do CCU, CCD. Concave up, concave down. So we've got 4 different graphs here. I'm going to work through one of them and then I'll let you work on the last 3. Notice this first one, your scale is by 0.5. So pay attention to that. So number 1, the vertex. That's this point right here. What is that coordinate? -2, -1. Good. Is this graph concave up or concave down? Up. So you can write the whole thing if you want, or you can abbreviate. Okay. Is this a maximum or a minimum? It's a minimum at, and we put the y value of the vertex. So the lowest that it goes is -1. So I would say a minimum at -1. The axis of symmetry is this line right here. So axis of symmetry is always a line. It is not an ordered pair. And what does my axis of symmetry have to start with? X equals. So it's x equals what? -2. Good. Where are my x-intercepts? Yes. Sometimes you will just see them written with just the numbers, -3 and -1. That's okay. You don't have to put x equals. You can just say -3, -1. You might also see them written as ordered pairs. -3, 0, and -1, 0. I'm okay with either, but like if it's multiple choice or something, just know you can see it either way. And then where is the y-intercept? 3. So you can put 3 or you can put 0, 3. I want you to work on questions 7 through 24. So on these, you needed to estimate the x-intercepts. Vertex is at -1, -1. Concave up at -1. Symmetry, x equals -1. Make sure you're putting x equals. X-intercepts, I would say -0.5, -1.5. As long as you're around. At 2. Alright, 19, vertex is at 2, -1. Down at -1. The axis x-intercepts. Don't put 0 here. If you write 0, that would mean that it crosses the x-axis at 0. It doesn't. You need to put none, NA, it doesn't cross the x-axis, something like that. And then the y-intercept, I believe, is -9.